Hey everyone, I'm Amy, and I'm going to share my story with you. No hiding anything. It all started when my mom passed away when I was born. My big brother, Patrick, was only 5 years old, and our dad couldn't handle the loss. He turned to drinking, which really hurt him. By the time I was 3, he was gone too. I don't remember any of this, but Patrick told me everything. Thankfully, our grandma stepped in to take care of us. We had enough money because of what Dad left behind, but Grandma's love was what really mattered to us. Patrick went off to college while I was still in middle school. We were so proud of him. Meanwhile, Grandma and I stayed together. She was my support through all the tough times. When I finished high school, it felt like the right time to leave home, even though it was hard to leave Grandma behind. College was a whirlwind of classes and new friends. Then, after I graduated, Grandma passed away. By this point, loss was something we were familiar with. Losing her felt like losing a part of myself, but Patrick and I supported each other. Patrick moved to another city for his job, and I found myself alone in our childhood home. After college, I felt a bit lost, like many people in their 20s, unsure of what to do next. I decided to use my design degree and got a job at a small boutique. At 20, my life didn't have the excitement that others my age seemed to have. No wild parties, no serious relationships, just the routine of work and home, and I was okay with that. But everything changed when I met Henry on a rainy day. A blonde guy with ocean blue eyes came into our boutique, soaking wet and trying to dry off. "Hey, how can I help you?" I asked. "Well, first off, I'm sorry about this wet mess," he said. "Can I get a towel, please?" "Of course, I'll see if I have something in the back to help you dry off," I replied. "Thanks. Actually, I'm here to pick up something for my sister, Julie. It's her birthday today. Do you think she likes patterns or something simple yet stunning?" "Definitely patterns. She loves to stand out," I said. "In that case, we have some gorgeous floral prints that I think she'll love," I suggested. It took us nearly 50 minutes to find the perfect dress for Henry's sister. We looked through racks of vibrant patterns and bold styles, sharing our thoughts and laughing along the way. I rang up the purchase at the register, and Henry leaned in a bit, his voice low and a bit nervous. "Hey, Amy, I was wondering if, maybe you'd like to grab a coffee with me sometime." "Oh sure, I'd love to," I replied. "Great, can I get your number so we can figure out a time?" "Of course, here you go," I said as I handed him my number. And that's how I met Henry, who almost became my husband. Going out for coffee with a stranger was probably the boldest thing I had ever done at that point, to be honest. But hey, Henry didn't turn out to be a serial killer, so that's a plus, right? After that first coffee, we started spending more time together. We got to know each other better, and I found out that we had a lot in common. Henry's life story was kind of like mine. He lost his mom when he was young, just like I did. His dad raised him and his sister, Julie, all by himself. Henry's dad was from Switzerland, and his mom was USA. They met, fell in love, and Henry's dad moved from Switzerland to the United States. Henry had a job in the corporate world and was doing well for himself, but what really impressed me was how kind-hearted he was. You could just tell from the way he acted and treated people. Our casual hangouts turned into something more serious. We would spend weekends together, sometimes at my place, just enjoying each other's company. Things were going pretty smoothly between us. Then 2 weekends, my brother Patrick was visiting, and Henry was also around. It felt like the right time, so I officially introduced Henry to Patrick as my boyfriend. "Hey, Henry. Finally, I get to meet the guy who's got my sister head over heels." "Nice to finally put a face to the name, Patrick. How's life treating you?" Henry replied. "Pretty good, man. Running my own little business keeps me busy. It feels like raising a baby sometimes, you know? I'd love to talk more about it, but it's good to know you're here keeping my baby sister company," Patrick said. "Oh, come on, Patrick. I'm not a baby anymore. I'm 21, I said, rolling my eyes. All right. This house is really something. Thanks. Dad built it, but we didn't stay here much. We moved in with Grandma when we were kids. Amy filled you in, Patrick asked. Henry nodded, and we all laughed, feeling the warmth of family and the start of something new. I bet she did. Sorry about your loss, man. Thanks, no worries. So, Amy said you're working hard down at the office on the 25th floor? Yeah, just a regular desk job, nothing exciting. Hey, every job has its value. Let's raise a glass to that. Absolutely. Here's to hard work paying off. Cheers. Henry and Patrick got along really well, and seeing them bond made me really happy. Eventually, I asked Henry to move in with me. He was practically living with me already, so it just made sense. He officially moved out of his rented apartment and became my roommate. Henry was the sweetest guy. He did all sorts of little things to make our home feel cozy and special. For example, he would surprise me with breakfast in bed on lazy Sunday mornings, making my favorite pancakes with extra syrup just the way I liked them. He also left little love notes around the house for me to find. Sometimes I'd come home from work and find a cute message tucked into my bag or stuck to the fridge. It always made me smile and feel so loved. It wasn't just the big gestures that made Henry special, it was the little things too. He would always hold my hand when we were out walking or give me a warm hug when I was feeling down. He was always there for me, through the good times and the bad, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. We had been together for 3 years. Time sure flies by. Then, the day came when I finally got to meet Julie face to face. She had flown in from Switzerland and was planning to stay here for a while. We had spoken on the phone before, but she didn't seem very friendly during those calls. But hey, phone conversations can be awkward. She wanted to meet Henry, so I made sure to be prepared. Henry assured me that Julie was much nicer in person and told me not to worry. When Julie arrived, I tried to stay calm and greeted her with a friendly smile. She started speaking to Henry in Romansh, and I must have looked completely lost. Henry noticed and said, "Julie, remember Amy's here too. She doesn't speak any Romansh." "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Amy. It's nice to finally meet you in person," Julie said, smiling. "I was just telling Henry how it took me a long time to find your house. It's beautiful though." "No problem at all, Julie. I'm sorry I couldn't understand you earlier." "It's okay. So Henry, you and Amy, huh? This is the longest relationship my brother has ever been in. You must be really special." "Well, what can I say? She really is." That night, with Julie and Henry chatting away in Romansh, I felt completely out of place. It was like I didn't belong. That's when I decided I needed to learn Romansh to fit in better with Henry's family. I secretly started taking lessons online whenever I could, even though running the boutique kept me pretty busy. Meanwhile, Henry had a big surprise planned. He was going to propose after we had been together for more than 3 years. He felt it was time. So he took me to the beach one day where he had also invited Julie, Patrick, and a few other close friends. He even asked Patrick for his blessing and promised to take care of me forever. It was a really special moment that made me so happy. After I said yes to the proposal, we jumped right into planning our wedding. We decided to get married in just 2 months. Some people might think it's a bit soon, but we both wanted a winter wedding, so we went for it. Planning the wedding was both exciting and overwhelming. From picking the perfect venue to figuring out the guest list and all the little details in between, there was a lot to think about. But with Henry's help, I finally did it. Learning Romansh was a bit tricky. I had tried a bit of Italian in high school, but Romansh felt like a whole new challenge. Still, I was starting to get the hang of it, even though I knew I had a long way to go. I kept my Romansh lessons a secret from everyone except Patrick. "So, my little sis is finally getting married, huh?" Patrick said. "Yep, she sure is," I replied. I wish Mom and Dad were here to see this day. They would have been so proud of you and the choices you've made." "Yeah, I know they would have been, but I'm grateful you're still here, Patrick. I couldn't have done this without you." "Hey, Amy, remember when I used to beat you at basketball?" "Oh yeah, how could I forget?" I laughed. "Well, look at us now. You're winning in the game of love. Just a couple more weeks, huh? Oh, by the way, how's the romance coming along?" "Actually, not too bad," I said with a smile. "I haven't told Henry yet. I'm planning to surprise him with a speech in romance at the wedding." "Look at you, going all out for love," Patrick teased. "You know me," I replied with a grin. "But seriously, Henry's a great guy. We've had a few talks, and I'm confident he'll take good care of you." "Hey, why are you getting close to my husband behind my back?" I joked. All right, I'm hanging up now. Goodbye," Patrick laughed. Fast forward to 4 days before the wedding, and I was buried in chaos, doing last-minute checks to make sure everything was perfect. Henry was right there with me, helping out. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Henry said he'd get it and left for a moment. He came back with Julie. "Hey, Julie, I didn't expect to see you here," I said, surprised. "I'm here for Henry," Julie replied. "Why, honey, it's 4 days before the wedding. Our dad is flying in tonight, and you know the groom can't be with the bride the night before the wedding, right?" "Oh, right. I almost forgot about that," Henry said, a bit flustered. "I'll go pack my bag while you and Amy have some coffee." "Sure thing," Julie said, smiling. Henry ran upstairs while I made coffee for Julie and me. "So, Amy, I just wanted to say I'm sorry if I've seemed cold or distant. Honestly, I'm really happy you're joining our family now," Julie said. "Oh no, Julie, you haven't been cold. Don't worry about it," I replied. "Come on, don't be too polite. I know I can be a bit intense sometimes. It's just that I'm really protective of my brother," Julie admitted. "I completely understand. My brother, Patrick, is the same way," I said, nodding. "Anyway, Dad is excited to see you both too. I'm so glad he can make it." After Julie and Henry left, I was alone in the house. It was still the afternoon, so I decided to take a nap. I headed to the couch to watch my favorite show and hopefully drift off to sleep. As I was getting comfortable, I noticed that Julie had left her glasses behind. I thought about texting her, but I remembered I needed to go near her apartment to check in with the florist, so I decided to drop off the glasses myself. After a 5-hour nap, I put on some joggers, grabbed my car keys, and headed straight to the florist. I checked on the beautiful flower decorations and admired the wonderful work the florist was doing. I made my way to Julie's apartment and rang the doorbell, but it didn't work, probably because it was broken. So I tried opening the door, and it swung open easily. To my surprise, Julie and Henry were not there. Instead, I heard voices speaking Romansh coming from the balcony. By now, I had become pretty good at understanding Romansh, so I listened in on their conversation. Their accents were strong, but I managed to understand most of what they were saying. Here's what I could make out from their conversation. "Finally, we have her right where we want her. The fish is in the net." "Calling her a fish? That's harsh, Julie. And using her while her brother is supposedly dying is just wrong." "Well, it's not certain if her brother is really dying. And even if he is, do you think all that inheritance is too much for a simple girl like Amy? She has her dad's house, her grandma's house, and her brother's business. She's not capable of running a business with half a brain. That's where I come in. You know, I always wondered why you liked her. She's just a sad, lonely orphan with a boring life. But now I see your plan. We could do great things with all that money. And remember, divorce is always an option." I had doubts about the situation, but when her brother called me to talk about his kidney issues, I became more convinced than ever. "You're quite the cunning one, aren't you? Listen, Julie, this money could be a game changer for us. Our dead-end corporate jobs won't get us anywhere, but this inheritance could be our ticket to something big. I promise I'll support you if things work out the way I hope." "Well, I'm not complaining anymore," Julie replied. Suddenly, Julie turned and walked into the room, her face changing to one of surprise when she saw me. "Oh my goodness, what are you doing here, Amy? We didn't expect to see you." "Henry, come inside. Amy's here to see you," she said, trying to sound cheerful. Henry walked in and shared a quick look with Julie before starting his act. "Amy, how long have you been here?" he asked, trying to sound casual. I just got here, but I really need to go. I just came to drop off your glasses, Julie," I said, feeling my heart racing. I handed Julie her glasses, but she could feel my hand shaking. She looked at me with concern. "Hey, why do you look so pale? Is everything okay? You seem like you're about to cry," she asked. "Well, the florist messed up one of the arrangements, and I think I should go back and make sure it's being fixed properly," I said, trying to find an excuse. "Oh, do you want me to come with you?" she offered. "No, your dad's coming tonight. You should stay home and help your sister Julie with dinner or something." "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." "Okay, bye. Drive safe," Henry said. Leaving Julie's apartment building, my eyes were filled with tears. I didn't try to hide them as I walked past curious strangers on the street. All I could think about was what I had just overheard. The words kept echoing in my mind. How could Henry, the man I loved, talk about me in such a cruel way? And my brother's health, what about that? It was too much to handle. When I reached my car, the tears flowed freely. Sitting in the driver's seat, I buried my face in my hands, unable to stop crying. Even though I had a strong urge to confront Henry and Julie right then and there, I knew there was something I needed to do first. See Patrick. I was really worried about him, so I drove back home, hoping to find him there. Patrick was supposed to stay with me for the wedding, and I waited anxiously for him. After what felt like forever, Patrick finally arrived. When he saw me on the couch, crying with swollen eyes, he rushed over, clearly concerned. "Hey there, Amy, what's going on? You seem upset. Did something happen, or is it just cold feet before your big day?" he asked, trying to lighten the mood. "Patrick, enough with the jokes. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Are you sick?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Amy, don't worry about me. Your wedding is just around the corner, and you should be focusing on that," Patrick replied, trying to brush it off. "Patrick, please, I need to know if you're okay," I insisted. "Well, yeah, I've been dealing with some health issues lately," he finally admitted. "What kind of health issues, Patrick?" I asked, my heart sinking. "It's my kidney. The doctors say it's in bad shape," he said, looking down. "Oh no, Patrick. Is there anything they can do to fix it?" I asked, feeling a wave of fear wash over me. He looked at me and said, "They're saying I might need a kidney transplant in the future, but don't worry, they're working on it." "But the chances of finding a donor aren't great, right? This is serious, Patrick," I said, feeling the weight of the situation. "I know, Amy. It's a tough situation, but I believe things will work out somehow," Patrick said with a hopeful tone. "Why didn't you tell me about this before, Patrick? I'm your sister. I should know. I want to help you," I insisted. "No, I can't ask that of you. This is why I kept it from you. I didn't want to worry you, especially with your wedding coming up. Besides, I was hoping things would get better on their own. Who told you about this anyway? Was it Henry? But you should have told me." "We're supposed to be there for each other through everything," I said, feeling hurt. I overheard Henry talking to his sister. I wanted to talk to Henry about it to make sure he would take care of you if anything happened to me. So I did. He promised to keep it away from you, though. I'm sorry you found out like that, Amy. I should have been the one to tell you. Can we please pretend we never had this conversation and deal with it after your wedding?" he asked. "Sure, I'll put it on hold until then," I agreed, trying to stay calm. "How about we order some takeout? I have some other things to take care of." "Sure, Chinese," Patrick suggested. "Yeah, that sounds good. And then you better rest up and get some sleep, I said, trying to lighten the mood. Are you excited? I'm sure it's going to be a one-of-a-kind wedding. After Patrick and I finished dinner, he went off to sleep. It had been an incredibly tough day for me, with so much to process. I decided not to tell Patrick about Henry and Julie's deceitful scheme. I didn't want to burden him with worry. Instead, I resolved to handle the situation myself and teach Henry a lesson he wouldn't forget. Reflecting on everything, I realized that Henry had been using me all along. He enjoyed the benefits of free housing and meals without contributing his fair share. Sure, he'd occasionally give me small gifts, but it hardly balanced things out. I had become his safety net, making sure his life was comfortable without any financial worries. It was a bitter pill to swallow, especially considering the love I had for him. Hearing Henry talk about my brother's health like it was no big deal made me furious. How could he be so heartless? I knew then that I couldn't let him get away with it. I planned to stay calm until the wedding, then reveal who Henry really was. My plan was simple: show everyone his true nature and let them see what kind of person he really was. I wanted him to face the consequences of his actions and watch his plan fall apart right in front of him. He needed to learn that his actions had consequences, and I was determined to make sure he did. The big day finally arrived. Imagine wearing a wedding gown, putting on a fake smile, and pretending everything's fine when deep down you know you're about to walk down the aisle just to break up with your fiancé in front of everyone. It was tough trying to stay calm and pretend in front of all the guests while my bridesmaids buzzed with excitement. It was getting harder by the minute. I hadn't spoken to Henry all morning anyway. After finally getting myself together and putting on my wedding gown, my friends did my hair and makeup. I was all set. One of my bridesmaids brought out a bottle of champagne to celebrate, but I wasn't in the mood. There was still time before the bride and groom's first look, or should I say the last one. Patrick was going to walk me down the aisle, and I thought it would be best to tell him about my plan now. So I asked my bridesmaids to send Patrick in and give us some space. Hey, what's going on? You look a bit tense. Need someone to talk to? Patrick asked. Patrick, I've got something heavy on my mind. I need to tell you what's really going on, I said. Are you nervous about your big speech? Want to practice with me once? He asked, trying to help. No, Patrick. There's something more serious. The thing is, Henry isn't who he seems to be. The other day, I overheard him talking to his sister. I heard some things, I began. What do you mean? What things? Patrick asked, looking concerned. It wasn't a casual chat. They were scheming. Patrick, Henry's in it for the money, and he's interested in your business too, I explained. Are you sure about this? He asked, shocked. Absolutely. I wish I wasn't. That snake, I should have seen it sooner, I said, feeling angry. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. I didn't want to worry you, Patrick. But now that I know, I can't keep quiet. I'm going to confront him and give him a piece of my mind. How could he do this to you, to us? I said, determined to take action. I don't want to let him get away with this easily. You know what? I'm going out there to tell everyone his real intentions, his boss, his colleagues, his family, his friends. They're all out there. His life will be ruined. Are you sure about this, Amy? It's going to be messy, Patrick cautioned. I've never been more sure of anything, Patrick. He needs to face the consequences of his actions, I said firmly. Henry and I had our first look, but I didn't look too excited. I could see Patrick trying hard not to punch Henry right then and there, but it was time for the final showdown. The music started playing, and Patrick walked me down the aisle. Henry, with his fake tears, stood there. I stood next to him, looking at the audience. Everyone was smiling warmly. Before the priest could start, I whispered in Henry's ear to leave politely. Then I took a deep breath and began speaking. Hi, everybody. I want to thank you all for being here. I know you must be wondering what I'm up to. so I'll let the cat out of the bag. Henry came into my life like a breeze and soon made himself at home. I didn't mind it. Things moved fast for us, and I thought we would be together forever. But there's always a but, isn't there? And in this story, there are 4. "Babe, what's going on?" Henry asked, looking confused. "Well, I've been learning Romance secretly. Henry's from Switzerland, and I wanted to surprise him with a speech in Romance today. But guess what? Learning Romance helped me understand something I wasn't supposed to hear. Henry and his sister Julie have been talking behind my back." "What is she saying?" Henry muttered, looking nervous. "I've heard everything, Henry. You've been calling me a dumb orphan, saying I don't see how you're using me for money. And not just that, you've been eyeing my family's inheritance that my late parents and grandma left for me, and even my brother's business. Can you just shut up? Don't you see people from work are here? My family and friends are here," Henry said, trying to keep calm. "And that's why I needed to show your true colors so everyone can see who you really are. Hey everyone, I hate to ruin the vibes, but I came to speak up about Henry and tell you the truth. So yeah, the party's over," I said, looking around at the shocked faces. I needed a moment to gather my thoughts, so I quietly slipped away from the commotion. Henry and Julie's stunned expressions and their father's disappointed look were burned into my mind. Patrick stepped up, helping everyone to disperse and calm down. After shedding tears alone in my bridal suite for what felt like forever, a gentle knock interrupted my solitude. I hesitated before opening the door, expecting Patrick, but to my surprise, it was Henry. "Do you realize what you've done? My dad's furious, and Julie is beyond angry," Henry said, clearly upset. "And whose fault is that?" "I just told the truth," I replied. "You could have talked to me privately first instead of accusing me in front of everyone. Now, I don't even know if I'll have a job. My boss was already mad at me, and this might be the last straw. Where will I go? I don't even have my own place," Henry pleaded. "That's the whole point, Henry. I can't believe I didn't see your true intentions sooner," I said, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. "Well, congratulations, Amy. You've ruined everything. I hope you and your stupid brother suffer all your lives," he spat. "Get out, Henry. I don't want to see your face anymore," I said firmly. The rest of the wedding day is a blur in my memory. After finishing another bottle of wine and waiting for Patrick to see off the guests and clean up my mess, he finally drove me home. The first week after the wedding was filled with tears and support from friends and family. But it wasn't just my love life that was in turmoil. Patrick's health was also at risk. After gathering some strength, Patrick suggested I take time off work to be with him. I agreed and went to his home. There, we met with his doctors to see if I could be a kidney donor for him. Unfortunately, I wasn't a match. Despite the heartbreak, I knew I had to be strong, especially for Patrick. He had always been there for me, and now it was my turn to support him through this tough time. It wasn't easy, but I did my best to stay composed and hopeful for the challenges ahead. And now, here we are today, 6 years later. You might be wondering how things turned out for me and Patrick. Well, let me start with Patrick. Over these 5 years, there were many ups and downs. His health got worse, and there were times when I had to drop everything to be with him. But it was all worth it when I received a call from him this morning. "Hey, Patrick, is everything all right? How are you feeling?" I asked. "Amy, I'm ecstatic. You won't believe what just happened. I got a call from my doctors, and there's a donor. They've scheduled me for surgery next week," he said, his voice full of joy. "Wow, after 5 years, you've been so strong through it all. I'll be right there with you next week." "This news makes me the happiest person alive," I replied, overwhelmed with relief. "I'm really glad that my brother is finally going to be okay." As for me, I decided to really focus on my career. I moved up from my job at the boutique and started styling clothes for TV commercials and media. Things have been going pretty smoothly. In terms of my love life, I've started seeing someone new. It's only been a few months, but I have a good feeling about this one. As for Henry, he's kind of disappeared from my life. The last time I heard from him was about 3 years ago when he was having a tough time. He would call me up drunk, blaming me for his problems. But I've moved on from all of that. I'm in a much better place now, both mentally and emotionally. I'd like to share a piece of advice with anyone reading this. Always try to keep good intentions in your heart. What goes around comes around, whether it's good or bad.